Hello and welcome to the channel. 7 states who had filed petitions against Tinubu at the Supreme Court have decided to tank the case. I smell something fishy. Anyways, subscribe, like, share, and comment. Thank you. 7 PDP states withdraw suit challenging Tinubu's election victory. 7 People's Democratic Party-led states which filed a suit against the federal government at the Supreme Court, challenging the victory of the president-elect Bola Tinubu at Saturday's presidential poll, have discontinued the suit. In the suit, which had the Attorneys General of the 7 states as plaintiffs and the Attorney General of the Federation as defendants, the 7 states, which include Adamawa, Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Delta, Edo, Taraba, and Sokoto states, had asked the Supreme Court to intervene in the just concluded presidential election, claiming that the declaration of Tinubu did not follow the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022 and the Independent National Electoral Commission's guidelines. The suit was challenging the failure of INEC to upload the election results to the IREV through the beavers. They also expressed fear of a potential breakdown of public order and civil disobedience. The notice of discontinuance, which was signed by their lawyer, Mr. Mike Ozekome, on Friday, said, "Take notice that the plaintiffs don't hereby wholly discontinue the suit against the defendant herein." Earlier, the state dragged the federal government before the Supreme Court over the conduct of the February 25, 2023 presidential and National Assembly elections. The Punch reported that the plaintiffs on February 28 filed a suit on the grounds that the collation of the national election results from the 36 states of the Federation and that of the Federal Capital Territory for the said 2023 presidential and National Assembly elections have not been carried out in compliance with the mandatory provisions of relevant sections of the Electoral Act 2022. In the suit filed by their lawyer, Mike Ozekome, the plaintiffs alleged that the agents and officials of the federal government and INEC failed to transmit the collated result as prescribed by the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022 and other relevant guidelines. They stated that non-compliance with the due process of law has led to widespread agitation, violent protests, displeasure, and disapproval from a wide spectrum of the Nigerian populace. The plaintiffs argued that the federal government, through INEC, is empowered by law to correct the elections due to technical glitches and errors arising from the conduct of the elections. The plaintiffs also asserted that the governments and people of the states involved in the suit were entitled to a proper and electoral lawful process and procedure that guarantees free, fair election. The plaintiffs were seeking a declaration that the entire results of the presidential election conducted on the 25th of February 2023, announced by the chairman INEC at the National Collation Center, Abuja, were invalid, null and void, and of no effect whatsoever. The plaintiffs also sought a declaration that the electoral process was fundamentally flawed through the non-uploading of the results of each of the 176,974 polling units nationwide. However, in a twist later on Friday, the plaintiffs asked the court to discontinue the suit. According to a source close to counsel to the plaintiffs, the withdrawal became necessary since the election has already been concluded and that the suit was filed while collation was still ongoing, adding that the Elections Tribunal is the next bus stop. Subscribe, like, share, comment, and please turn the notification bell on. Thank you. The head of the African Union Commission on Friday congratulated the winner of Nigeria's fiercely fought presidential election, Bola Tinubu, urging all parties to uphold peace and the rule of law following the votes. In a statement, Musa Faki Mahamat said that any post-election dispute or grievance should be pursued through the judicial system as provided for by the law, as opposition parties claimed massive vote rigging in the February 25th poll. Faki also commended the people of Nigeria for demonstrating resilience in their commitment to democratic values by casting their votes for the leaders of their choice. Almost 25 million people cast their ballots on Saturday In a poll that was largely peaceful but marred by long delays and the slow arrival of online results, angering voters and opposition parties. Ruling party candidate Tinubu, a former Lagos state governor of the ruling All Progressives Congress, was declared winner with 8.8 million votes and the required number of ballots across two-thirds of Nigerian states. The ballot pitted Tinubu 70 against former vice president and main opposition candidate, People's Democratic Party hopeful Atiku Abubakar, and a surprise third-party candidate, Labour Party's Peter Obi, who excited younger voters with his campaign of change. On Thursday, Obi, a former governor of Anambra State, said he would challenge the outcome of the election in courts, claiming he would prove to Nigerians he had won the presidential race. PDP's candidate Abubakar denounced Tinubu's victory, describing it as rape of democracy, and said he was consulting lawyers to decide on his next steps. Tinubu, a political kingmaker whose influence earned him the nickname Godfather of Lagos, is set to succeed two-term President Muhammadu Buhari, who steps down in May. He faces immense security and economic challenges in Africa's most populous nation. Meanwhile, the presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress, Domebi Kashiku, has said that the victory of Bola Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress in the just concluded presidential election was due to a disunited opposition. He said if the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party had united before the election, they could have defeated the governing party. He said in a statement on Friday, the victory of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu in the just concluded presidential polls is a clear case of consistency and preparation meeting opportunity. Tinubu, a dogged fighter with a mastery of the Nigerian political system, took advantage of a disunited opposition, some of whom were running purely on the divisive platforms of ethnicity and religion. The distortions occasioned by the rigging done by the four so-called leading parties were not significant enough to have altered the outcome of this election. I long warned that any vote for the Labour Party was a vote in support of the APC victory. The PDP and Labour Party candidates failed to show leadership when they refused to put aside petty differences to build a formidable opposition to take on a non-performing sitting government. They now seek to form an alliance of sore losers after defeats. He said Tinubu's victory was a lesson to segments of the clergy who provided their places of worship as campaign platforms. We must separate, thus said the Lord, from our biases and personal convictions. That's the news, guys. Thanks for listening. Until next time, bye.